So Jordan Davis will get his fair share of opportunities to make an impact, more so really than any of the other draft picks. But hey, he's a first rounder.
I hear you. All right. So coming up at 2 o'clock, Bo Wolf will be joining us from The Athletic. Looking forward to talking to Bo. So let's hit this, guys. I was thinking about this today, and I thought it'd be a cool thing for us to kind of dive through here. So when we're talking about Eagles rookies, the people that they drafted this past year, Jordan Davis, first rounder they moved up to get. Cam Jurgens, who in some people's mind is going to be the heir apparent to Jason Kelce. Nakobe Dean, who ends up going in the 3rd round to the shock of a lot of people. You know, Kyron Johnson, Craig Calcaterra. There's the guys they hit later on. So let's kind of walk through this. And I'll start with you on this, Barrett. And tell me what you expect of these guys. How do you think they'll be used? How often, what kind of playing time we're looking at. I don't necessarily need numbers, but just more of an impact that you think that they're going to give the Eagles. So let's start with Jordan Davis.
Oh, you look at Jordan Davis. I think he's going to play. He's going to be, I know you don't say numbers, but he's going to be right around maybe 30 snaps a game is the number that
30 a game. Okay.
That could be obtainable for them if they go out and they play this multi-front type of defense that I think Gannon wants to run, meaning 4 down or 3 down, and putting guys in a position where, they can be successful. That's the biggest thing. Can Gannon put his guys out there and put them in a position where they can use their talent successfully? When you look at a guy like Jordan Davis, he's more of a head-up nose type of guy. He's like a 30 front type of guy, meaning you have a guy head up over the nose, then you have a defensive end head up over the tackle, head up over the other tackle. That's a 30 front. You put linebackers on the outside, it becomes a 50 front. I think that's where he's going to be best suited to play in his defense. That way he can be a 2-gapper, stop the run, clog up the middle of that defense, and what you have to have at least 2 to 3 guys allocated on just moving him in order for them to run the ball. And that's why they drafted Jordan Davis, for that type of front. He's not going to really be a 4-down lineman front guy because he's not suited to jumping up the field and getting penetration on pass plays. He would have to be a pass rusher to do that. He's not necessarily the best pass rusher they have in their arsenal of guys. I think they're going to more so use a NASCAR system where they put defensive ends in there in 1-3 technique, like Fletcher Cox as their rushing down guy. They're a 4-down guy to get up and create pressure on 3rd down. So I think in that you'll have like BG moving in to play the 3, Hassan Reddick on one side, maybe even Brandon Graham or maybe even Sweat play the defensive end on the outside, and have just Fletcher Cox in one of those defensive ends in there with him rushing the passer. So Jordan Davis will get his fair share of opportunities to make an impact, more so really than any of the other draft picks. But hey, he's a first rounder.
Interesting. All right. So that's Jordan Davis, Gunner. I think that you don't take a guy where they took him if you're not going to get him on the field. I think you're going to see him utilized. I think the way Barrett laid it out is pretty dead on here. But, this is not going to just be him as the occasional sub here to keep the rotation going between Fletcher and Javon Hargrave. He's going to get out there for sure.
I think he's going to be on a limited number initially. I think his input is going to be predicated on 2 things: his weight, controlling his weight, and conditioning. Mm-hmm. Now, I think they're going to bring him along slowly in terms of how they utilize him to get him better acclimated to playing at this level. So that's why I said a few weeks ago, I thought he was going to play like maybe 30, 35% of the snaps initially. If he turns out to be what they hope he is and what they expect him to be, mm-hmm. the number will increase significantly, I think, because you keep those D tackles a lot fresher. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you're not going to move him to the outside and have him rush from the edge like a Fletcher Cox.
Yeah.
He's what I call a warthog. He's going to put his hands in the dirt.
Yep.
He's going to be planted at that one spot, and everything else is going to be moving around him.
Mm-hmm.
You won't play a lot of games with the Jordan Davis. You'll know where he is. The offensive line will always know what Jordan Davis is. But, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, those are the chess pieces with the Reddicks. the Brandon Grahams. Those are the ones that are going to be bouncing around, the Nakobe Deans and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But, he had stamina issues when he was at Georgia. He's gotten his weight down, but I still believe he needs to get down to the high 320s, very low 330s at the very most for him to be as effective as they want him to be. What kind of conditioning staff does the Eagles have here? We're going to find out.
Yeah.
But he's only going to increase his play based on what they see of him in terms of stamina. And I think we're going to see a lot of what he is or isn't right off the bat in the preseason games.
Okay. This one's fascinating to me, Barrett, because we touched on this and varying people have different opinions of how this is going to work. But a lot of people initially thought Cam Jurgens comes in, he learns under Kelsey for a year, he redshirts, and then at that point, if Jason Kelsey's ready to move on, he steps in. But there is also the school of thought that this guy could absolutely compete at one of the guard spots, maybe take the job of Isaac Seumalo. How do you see it with Cam Jurgens?
To be honest, just being very, very honest, I don't think that he will be able to unseat a guy like Seumalo. Seumalo's healthy. I don't think he has a snowball's chance in hell of beating out of Seumalo. Seumalo's been there for a long time. He's a good, crafty veteran. He was a part of that great offensive line, that you've had the past couple of years, so I think he's, if he's healthy, he'll be a mainstay there. Even if Cam, if you want him to play a lot, where do you put him? Look at the backup that he has. I'm looking at the offensive line. They have a lot of players, that they can come in and play at any time. And he's just going to be so far down the depth chart that you won't be able to see him at the guard position. So when you look at the guard position, you've got Jack Driscoll. I don't think he starts in front of a Jack Driscoll. Jack Driscoll's good enough to play and play well. I've been telling you guys about Coyote Awosika. Coyote Awosika is a damn good pass blocker, run blocker. He was well coached in college. He was at University of Buffalo. Actually played with Jackson, the tight end. He was his guard. Really, really good player. So I don't see the room at guard position for him to come in and be that guard. That's just from what I look at when I look at the depth chart.
Mm-hmm. No, look. Go ahead, Barry. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
You got Sewell Pater there. I don't think he makes the squad this year because of these young guys that they have blossoming the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Cam will come in and he'll push to compete for that backup position. But I don't see him as a starter at any of the guards at this point.
Okay.
Center, we know Kelsey isn't going anywhere.
I'm okay. But, let him get his bearings, man, for a year. And it's a good problem to have. He's ready to roll after that. What do you think, Gunnar? You think we'll see him anywhere other than center at some point?
I think he's going to be cross-trained, not just a center, but he's going to be trained to play both guard positions.
Yep.
That's what they liked about him when they drafted him, his versatility, his ability to be versatile. He played primarily center in Nebraska, but the one thing that Jeff Stoutland likes to identify, can we cross-train guys for other things?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to initially beat out Seumalo. Seumalo's biggest deficit is, can he stay healthy?
Yep.
Case, I think Jurgens is going to have an opportunity to step in because I don't know if Seumalo can stay healthy a whole season. If he's deemed good enough and ready enough to play, I think he leapfrogs past a Jack Anderson, Opeta, guys like that. They like what they have in those guys, but I don't think they love what they have in those guys. They like that they have these interchangeable parts, but I don't think they love those interchangeable parts. And so why not let this kid get his feet wet? If he comes in and get his feet wet, this offensive line looks even better. 3/5 of the future of this offensive line looks even better, if he plays. You got the kid Cam in one spot. You got Dickerson, who you just got last year. Malata's a mainstay at the left tackle spot. Lane Johnson, he's still very effective, but you don't know how much longer he's going to be there. And Kelsey, who knows? This could be Kelsey's last year. If that's the case, then you slide Jurgens back over to the center, and you still have enough depth and versatility to plug in at that right guard spot. So I agree with Barrett. I don't believe he's going to win the job initially, but I do think he's going to see some playing time at that spot out of necessity.
Okay. And remember, Bo Wolf going to be joining us at the top of the hour. We'll talk to Bo from The Athletic, who covers the Birds. Let's go to Nakobe Dean. If you look at the depth chart right now, guys, And again, we're sitting here in May, but just for the sake of the discussion, Kaiser White at the weak side, TJ Edwards in the middle, and Hassan Reddick at the strong side. Now, we know Hassan is more of a hybrid kind of guy who's going to be used in different ways. Does this open the door for Nakobe Dean to be a starter week 1 when they take on Detroit? Barrett, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't. I think the kid's going to play. He's going to play midway through the season.
Okay.
He'll get more reps, but it's going to be hard for him to dethrone TJ Edwards. I'm just being real. TJ, he did it with the muscle, man. He did it the hard way. Everybody said he was too slow, he couldn't play, and he comes out last year, earns him a extension, and the starting job. You're right. I mean, he's basically what you want in a linebacker. Hard-nosed kid, knows the game, uses his tape study to make him a better player. He got that defense going in the right direction last year by just being aggressive and playing aggressive, coming downhill, initiating contact with offensive linemen, making sure you couldn't double team those guys up front. He's the reason why the defensive line started playing better also, because it was harder to get and double team those guys because his TJ Edwards was reacting so fast you had to account for him in a number count. And that's what made him a better linebacker than the guys they had there.
Right.
Davion Taylor, he basically showed Davion how to play the linebacker position because he didn't have a clue at first. He didn't have a clue at all. He wasn't initiating contact. He wasn't coming downhill. He wouldn't make the correct reads. He would just run and just react so late that, he was already out of the play before it even started. It's because of TJ Edwards and his play that he became a better player. So do I think Nakobe Dean's going to play a little bit? He's going to play some situational football. They're going to put him in and on passing downs every once in a while. Him and Kaiser White could probably play, or Davion Taylor and Dean. But, I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the linebacker positions are the deepest I've seen them since I've been, even in 95 when I had a bunch of linebackers here. I've never seen this deep a group of linebackers, and I mean, look at what they have at the linebacker position. Hassan Reddick, TJ Edwards, Kaiser White. You look at Davion Taylor, Nakobe Dean, Patrick Johnson, Sean Bradley, Kyron Johnson from Kansas.
Yeah, he was the next one I was going to ask you about, but you might as well just jump on it now. Yeah.
Right. So, and these guys are like specialized too. Even Joe Osmond. Joe Osmond's been here for years. You know what I'm saying? Just sticking around. Jacoby Stevens. He was the 6th rounder last year from what was it? He was from LSU. All these guys have been brought in to play that hybrid outside and inside linebacker for the 50 or 30 front, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So these guys, are kind of more specialized. And that's why I'm saying that they're going to run a 30 front or 50 front and use those linebackers, use those big guys up front to eat up double teams so these guys on the outside and inside can run around and make plays.
Interesting. You see it similar, Gunner?
Yeah, I think Nakobe Dean is talented enough. He could play safety if he wanted to play safety. He has a quickness, a lateral pursuit. I know that's not his spot, but I think he's going to be used sporadically early on. I think he's going to be that guy that they're going to try to find the gap in the fence on rushing downs. I think he's going to be more rushing down type, fixture initially until they find out how to utilize him overall as well. Barrett's right. The collection of linebackers they have, we've been screaming about the deficiency at the linebacking position for years. But I also think TJ Edwards he's on borrowed time right now. I watched that kid extensively at Wisconsin because I'm from Wisconsin. I watch a lot of Wisconsin football. The thing that made him the type of player he was at Wisconsin and that he has been in the pros is that he's a workaholic. You tell him something he cannot do, he's going to show you that he can do it. Now, he wasn't blessed with the greatest foot speed. He wasn't blessed with the greatest lateral pursuit. But what he has been blessed with is a work ethic, and you can't take that from him. And that's why he was a significant part of this defense last year, because he's a short tackler. He finds a way to play. He's not a great blitzer, but he's a smart heads-up player. So I do think initially he gets the starting job. When they get Nakobe Dean up to speed and find out how to utilize him, I think that's when Edwards' numbers start to dwindle in terms of how he's utilizing that defense.
Okay. All right. I just for time purposes, I want to jump over to I believe he was the last pick that they made. Grant Calcaterra, who is a converted tight end. He was a receiver at Oklahoma, bulked up, sat out a year. He had some concussion issues, came back. He's a tight end now. You know, you get beyond Dallas Goedert, and there's some question marks there. You know, Tyree Jackson hurt. Jack Stoll was more of a blocker last year. They don't appear to be loaded and have great depth at that spot. I'll start with you on this one, Derek. Does he have a chance to make this team?
I think he does. I think the key in terms of backing up Goddard is Tyree Jackson. I think if he could stay healthy, this kid's 6'7", you know, and has a wingspan of an airplane. And he showed flashes of what he could do in the preseason until he got hurt. And I think he could be used as a viable weapon. I don't know what his blocking skills are like because we haven't seen him yet. But I think Tyree Jackson is the key. As for the other kid, Calcaterra, you're right. That's a thin position. I don't know what they think about Jack Stoll. Stoll is a hard worker, but I think he's limited in terms of ability and what they could do with it. So I do think that Calcaterra could be your number 3 tight end. Jack Stoll could be your odd man out.
That's interesting. That is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends more. I think Calcaterra is definitely more of the Ertz kind of guy where he's not going to be a great blocker for you.
Right.
Yes. That. It's just going to be a matter of what your taste is, what your preference is there.
Yeah, but see, the only thing about it, when you look at that, he's probably the only he's the purest out of the tight ends, you know. But I mean, I'm not counting Richard Rodgers because Richard Rodgers, you know, he's the one really on borrowed time.
Yeah,
but I think
has been for like 5 years.
Right. They keep bringing him back, man. He's just, you know, he's just like roaches, man. You know, you try to get rid of him, you just can't. They keep coming back. They can survive a nuclear holocaust. That's how tough roaches are, bro. But you look at, you know, who they have. The tight end position, Dallas Goedert really doesn't have an equal or even being close to, you know, what you want at the tight end position as number 2. You know, you have a guy in Tyree Jackson, like Gunnar said, he doesn't block. Jake Stoll, all he does is block. You know what I'm saying? So a mixture of the two, you get Grant Calcaterra. You know, he is a tight end.
Yeah.
He does both. He blocks and he plays the game of tight end and can go out there and catch.
He's got good hands.
think he does. Yeah, I think he does make the squad. I mean, this is crazy, man, but they might carry 4 tight ends into the season. Usually you just carry 3.
Better be good on special teams.
Right. So that's and there lies the problem. Does Tyree Jackson play special teams? I didn't see him play special teams.
Yeah, converted quarterback for people who don't know about Tyree from his Buffalo days when he was in college. Yeah.
So I don't know. Can he play? Can he play?
Getting a lot of comment section. What about J-Jaw? How could you guys forget J-Jaw when you're talking tight ends?
That was by design. That was my point.
That wasn't a mistake.
Right. I wasn't trying to talk to him. He is not a tight end. Is he a receiver? I don't know. Yeah. Can he block on the edge? Yes, he can.
Right.
But it's no excuse to only have 3 catches in 3 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's sort of a Hail Mary they're throwing and just to see what happens. Let him bulk up and see what's up. But I don't foresee him being on this team. That's for sure. Yeah. So, obviously I think they're going to have impactful rookies like they did last year. Like I think these guys will play a role for this team for sure. And that's a good sign because for too many years, they weren't getting enough out of their draft picks and it was a matter of free agents and, if you made a trade or whatever the case may be. So I found that interesting. One other note to add to this, guys. I was reading Peter King today, and Peter King does a really good job with his football in America, football morning in America. It used to be MMQB was his old site.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he ranked all the teams. He had the Eagles number 9, and he said he thinks they're the best team in the East. I thought that was kind of interesting, to have them cracking the top 10 for a team that won 9 games last year, and he has them ahead of the Cowboys. Pretty interesting.
And we're talking about a quarterback. We're talking about a quarterback because I think that Dallas has the better quarterback, but yet still he has them ahead. He has the Eagles ahead of even Dallas. To me, it's telling, man, that I really think once they got A.J. Brown, it really changed the dynamics of what they are going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does.
No, go ahead, Gunner.
No, I think when you look at this overall Eagles team, they're a lot better today on paper than they were back in, let's say, even mid-April. Mm-hmm. But I try to keep from getting too overzealous, too enthusiastic about the possibilities, because as we all know, sometimes these aspirations let you down.
Yeah.
I think it's a growing process in terms of how quickly it comes together. Teams don't practice for long period of times like they used to.
Right. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. You're bringing in new pieces to the equation. You're not going to learn everything you need to know about what a pass catcher likes to do. A.J. Brown, as much as Jalen has to learn A.J. Brown has to learn him as well. Mm. And that's a huge factor. And a lot of times, because every scenario is different, week to week, it could change in terms of them being on the same page. So it's going to take a little while for them to get on the same page. But in terms of them being equal with Dallas, considering the offensive line that Dallas has, they lost Amari Cooper. They do have the advantage at quarterback right now in just terms of experience with Dak Prescott. I think they're right neck and neck. I still think Dallas, their defensive personnel, their front seven is pretty doggone good. They have a good young cornerback who gambles a lot, makes a lot of interceptions, but gives up a lot of yards as well. But now that you've added James Bradbury on the other side with Darius Slay, it makes that Eagles defense that much more potent when in terms of looking at what's in front of them in the front seven and the pieces that Jonathan Gannon has to play with in terms of playing games with that front seven. So I'm not surprised one bit that Peter King, feels that way about the Eagles. And I wouldn't be surprised one bit if the Eagles find a way to win the division.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So we come back, guys. We'll get to the Birds at 2:00 with Bo Wolf. I'm going to ask you about trust issues when it comes to the 76ers.
I don't trust you.
I don't trust them either. That's for sure. But we'll do that when we get back. Don't go anywhere. Bo Wolf from The Athletic at 2. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Sixers. A little later in the show, we'll get into the NBA playoffs, etc., and cover a lot more ground. That's for sure. D. Gunn, Barrett Brooks. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I got to tell you about the folks at Pro Action Restoration, because if you have a home or a business and you've experienced the inconvenience of water, of fire, of smoke, mold damage, etc., look, man, it is scary stuff, right? And I know how trying it can be. I went through it myself. Pro Action is on call 24/7 to assist. Anytime, day and night, you need help, they will be there. I went through this at my parents' house with some water damage, and they got there quickly. They cleaned up the place. The crew was professional, clean, and guess what? The price was very, very reasonable. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They serve the tri-state area, and they have been for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction also with your insurance company. When that price, can get crazy, they will work with your insurance company. Whether it's water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Just give them a call, 610-623-3760, or email them at proactionrestoration.com.